Welcome to today's PAWSCAST.
Well, good afternoon. My name's Don Swager. I'm the director of the Safe Office at Frostburg State University and the founder of our PAWSCAST here on campus. So excited that we have, for the fourth time, our wonderful guest, Brad Huddleston, all the way from Virginia. Brad, welcome back.
Thank you. It's a privilege.
So glad that you decided to join us for the fourth time now, a 4-part series. I knew we were going to have at least 3 because there's just such wonderful information in your text.
Yeah, thank you.
If you have not been able to listen in on episodes 1, 2, and 3, or I should say parts 1, 2, and 3, you're going to want to do that. I've been learning so much. I read the book. You need to get the book. We'll tell you at the end of the episode how you get a copy of the text. But have thoroughly enjoyed meeting you and being with you. Again, welcome to Frostburg State.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed meeting you too, Don. And as I mentioned before, I'll say it again, I mean it. Every time I say it, honored now to call you friend. Appreciate what you do here.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And so, without further ado, we're going to be talking about this wonderful text, Digital Cocaine. If you didn't listen to parts 1, 2, and 3, I ran across your book via a friend who I was thinking that he was reading about cocaine because I didn't see the digital part. And I was very intrigued by it, got a copy right away, read it, couldn't put it down, and I'm glad that I did. Contacted you. We worked out a deal where you can come up here with your lovely wife, Beth, and so glad that you're here. If you don't know this young man, you're going to have to get to know him. He's a distinguished author, internationally respected and known. Him and his wife both travel abroad, Australia, South Africa, to name a few. He's an educator, obviously an author of this book and another book that we're going to introduce towards the end of our episode today. Works with high school students and college students and business folks, law enforcement officers, churches, youth groups, you name it. He's been a part of it. He's got an undergrad in computer science, and he's almost finished with his doctorate degree. Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. So without further ado, let's talk about chapter 9, the fight against digital dementia in the classroom. So what is digital dementia, and how's it spill over into the classroom?
Digital dementia mimics Alzheimer's, and it was first discovered in children in South Korea. So they were in a lot of homes in South Korea, if not all. Here in America, we typically still have keys to get in the door, but they have the number pads there. Okay. Very common. And they noticed that children couldn't remember their number sequences. Now, these are children. Usually they remember things like that a lot better than adults do. Yeah. So they did a lot of research and realized that the digital overload that they were on is causing memory loss. And it has spread. And I looked at a couple of Alzheimer's websites to see what I could find. I mean, there's a lot of really great websites if you've had a relative, I have, who had Alzheimer's, where you get some help and some tips and things like that. I found at least one, if not 2, that included digital dementia in some of that. So it causes memory loss. And of course, in a cognitive situation such as a classroom, that's very detrimental when you can't remember formulas and you can't remember your times tables and you can't remember those sorts of things. So it's just good old-fashioned memory loss that usually is associated with the elderly. It is now turning up in children.
How about exercise? You know, I'm a firm believer that, you know, there's a lot of valuable things that that we gain, through exercise, and how's that affiliated with like cognitive function and so forth?
When we talk about fixing this problem, the first thing you do is a detox, obviously, but what really goes a long way, 2 things, sleep and exercise. And exercise, I always say, it burns off the bad stress hormones and it releases the good ones, the endorphins. So people ask me, is exercise addictive? I'm like, well, technically yes, but you should try to get addicted because not too many people are. But it, for the brain, it is one of the single best things that you can do for your brain, getting the oxygen in there, burning off the bad hormones. It completely turns the chemicals around in our bodies in a very good way. We all know that. We just don't do enough of it. Now, I do. I've used that usually every day I'm in the gym. And I appreciate you calling me young. I'm 60 years old.
You don't look like it.
Thank you. And I attribute that to sleep and exercise and God. But I don't have a good gene pool. You can look at my family, and they're all lovely people. But physically, I didn't inherit a good gene pool, but I have messed with it in a good way.
Okay.
So I put that in the book quite heavily because there's a lot of brain science behind what exercise does for the brain chemically in restoration. It also prepares you for good sleep, which then heals the brain. So much goes on in the sleep when it comes to academics. So the hippocampus, which is a short-term memory, is where when a student is studying their math, English, history, or their subjects here at Frostburg, it goes into that little thimble. It's a little small part of the brain, and that information gets put in there temporarily, and at night, when you sleep, that's when it gets transferred over into long-term memory. So there's these things called schema, which is like a straight line. And basically, I was looking at another author who deals with this, and his name escapes me at the moment, but his book is called The Shallows. And in this book, he talks about a scattered brain, more or less, where if you are studying properly, where you're getting enough sleep and you're not being interrupted constantly, that information goes into the hippocampus when you're studying your textbooks and so forth in a straight line, and then at night it puts it into the long-term memory in a straight line, and you can draw associations as it builds on the subjects that you learn. If you are constantly looking here and there as you're studying and being distracted by your phone and people walking in and out, well, that's how the information gets transferred in the long term. So you have a hard time drawing associations between the things you learned previously. So the way I illustrate this when I'm doing teacher professional development, I'll say to the teachers, you ever have a student on Thursday lecture swear you didn't give them the background enough background from the Tuesday lecture, and when you know you did, but they say you did, yes! Well, they're probably not sleeping, they're probably on their devices, they're probably using a device while they're trying to study, and that's leading to these memory problems. So that's what we're talking about in there. It's having a detrimental effect academically. And of course, not being able to hold a conversation is a very rude thing, from my generation anyway. Doesn't seem to bother these young people. But you and I come from this generation where we look each other in the eye, we let you talk, and then I talk, and we listen, and then and they're just all over the show. And a lot of that's memory problems. They're not taking it in, they're not even listening. So.
Yeah, I was thinking, it's interesting because, and I don't know all the research, but I recently read about what they're calling diabetes 3, and how sugar is related to dementia. Now, in our other parts in the series that we've been talking about this, we've talked about exercise, we've talked about sleep, we've talked about nutrition, and then now there's this research. We're talking about digital dementia and really how they're all related. And I guess it's not easy because it takes discipline to do this, but I kind of get excited, that we're educating people from all over the world, about this. And if they only give themselves a chance to apply the information, and it's going to take some discipline.
Yes.
But even the short-term positive effects that it's going to create. Do you think that increase in academic performance is one of those benefits?
We know that it is. That's why Sweden is taking everything out of the classroom. Now, they haven't solved their problem, I allege. 80% of the problem is caused, I believe, and I have a lot of evidence for this, in the bedroom with the door shut with children who have devices and they're up half the night, shortening their attention spans, shocking themselves with too many chemicals, and goodness knows the content that they're looking at with pornography and violence and things like that. Their video games are violent, and there's rapes going on in these video games and murders, and you get points for all this. They're very common.
Yeah.
So most of that, they will just bring that into the school, and they'll come in what I call pre-addicted. It's a good thing to do. We know that the educational software and all these things have not been working. Now, I want to say this. I'm on a campus here, and I have a computer science degree, not being the anti-guy. What I would allege is the implementation was flawed. It was done too quickly without third-party research. They went on the research from the developers, which is never a good thing to do. You always want a third party who has no dog in the fight to assess these things. I just think we need to reassess and figure out where the time limits are, and then delay it, especially keep it out of the elementary schools. Now, that's a whole different talk that I give to school boards and things like that. But I'm not anti everything, but the way we are currently using it, the way it has currently been implemented, clearly has been a failure. Sweden's taking it out. It's exacerbating addiction. And I've written an ethics, for Globe Ethics, I've written about this. So I want to just end on a note on this one. The good news is, when there's a detox, as hard as it may be, as much discipline as that may take, miracles occur. I mean, an elongated attention span. These parents will say, my kid, I don't know this one, and I like this one. Now, I don't know if anybody would say that out loud, but that's essentially what they're saying.
Yeah.
The behavioral problems have subsided, and they're back to being normal naughtiness, not this hyper-elevated stuff. And I mentioned to you my friend Corey out in Oregon, whose school called and said, hey, what's going on with your kid? The grades are good. And I wondered, they didn't say this, I wondered maybe they thought he was cheating or something because he had such a turnaround. I don't think that's, he wasn't cheating. It's just that his priorities changed, his brain healed, and now he discovered a gift. His was academics. So with the digital dementia, with all of these things, I just want to reiterate, my topic is so negative. Most of it is, Don, to be honest with you, because of the big mental health crisis that we're in. There is a good side to this. Mm-hmm. There's a good side. There is healing in the brain, and I have brain scans that I show where people have detoxed and it heals.
Yes.
And if we could just focus on that, I think that would give us some light to look at, to give us some energy to keep on this path, to do whatever it takes to reset.
I agree. So we've talked about it in bits and pieces, but this is our final part in this series. Screen time and overall health. Can you just kind of rattle off, when you think about this and what you've seen in your research, put it out there. And the opposite is true too. Decreasing screen time, eliminating screen time, and then the health benefits. However you want to frame it.
I agree with Dr. Jonathan Haidt, who has a book called The Anxious Generation. He's one of the few that are writing and speaking publicly about this. He says delay any implementation of technology whatsoever until they're at least he was talking about phones. Mm-hmm. And I say any technology, including phones. He says 18, I say 25, but I'll take 18.
Is that because, I didn't mean to interrupt you, brain development?
The prefrontal cortex, this area right behind the forehead, is where our impulse control happens. When I'm talking to little children, let me just do a very quick thing how I handle second graders, because I speak in the elementary schools too. I have these brain animations that I designed that are oversimplified, and I ran them past some doctors to make sure it was accurate enough. Because if you start talking about dopaminergic barriers and dopamine receptors and serotonin, you're going to lose a second grader. So I illustrate with this brain like it's a car. And I'll say, boys and girls, if mom and dad are running late, you don't take the bus, they drive you to school. And they're running late, and let's say dad is driving you to school and he wants the car to go really fast. Which of those pedals down there does he push? The gas pedal. That's right, boys and girls. So our brains are like a car. And boys and girls, when he pushes that gas pedal, what's the name of the liquid that goes into the engine? Gas. That's right. In our brains, the accelerator, and I put a little dot in the middle where the nucleus accumbens is. I said, that's the gas pedal, that's the accelerator. And in our engine, the gas that goes in is called dopamine. Can you say dopamine? They all go, dopamine. That's right, boys and girls. And it feels really good when you push that gas pedal and you go really fast on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. Yeah, and Fortnite and all this, and they're going crazy. I'll say, now, if you come up to a stoplight, which of those pedals does Dad push? The brake pedal. That's right, boys and girls. Here's the problem. You've got a gas pedal. You've got bucket loads of fuel. The problem is you don't have any brakes. And you won't have them until you're 25 years of age. And they will be right here. That's where the brakes are. And so you can go really fast, but you can't stop. That's what parents are supposed to do, stop you But instead they give you more fuel. And you don't have bad parents. They just don't know what you know, and you need to go home and tell them what I just explained to you. And they get that, and they do, and they drag their parents to parent meetings. And so they don't have breaks. That's why there are reasons, neurobiological, there are neuroscience reasons, physiological reasons why we say delay. So I say to the kids in closing, when you're going really, really fast and you can't stop, that's what addiction is. You can't stop.
So I got a doozy for you.
Okay.
You'd mentioned Mr. Kennedy.
Yep.
Well, it's kind of related to this question here. So in the spirit of national health, if you had the opportunity to sit down, with the Surgeon General or the Secretary of Health, what would you say?
I can tell you exactly what I would say. I would say I'm an American. I bleed red, white, and blue. I appreciate our founders and the liberties that has given me and afforded me to go all over this world with my message. Americans, generous Americans, have allowed me to do that. And I'm glad I have the freedom to write these books, and I have no one looking over my shoulder. I'm with you 100%. When it comes to children, though, we need to protect them. And that means all the way up, preferably to 25, but I'll take 18. We need laws. Parents are not going to do this, and nor do I want to encroach on their rights to parent the children the way that they need to. But we have laws against driving cars before a certain age. We have laws about them ingesting cocaine. This is cocaine. And I would say, I've said this on massive media, being interviewed on television, radio, knowing they're neuroscientists. They never complain. This is not hyperbole. We need to protect these children. Now, once they get to be 18 years old legally, they can do whatever they want. But we have laws to protect them against harming themselves because they don't have breaks. When it comes to the digital, we need to make them wait, and it needs to be litigated. And I am an American who doesn't like to say that. But I care and love these children of this nation. I love my country. I love the kids of the other nations of the world that I go to as well. I care about what you do with these students here. That's why I came. I don't even know them. But this is what I believe Providence has asked me to deal with. And it's a hard decision, but I would tell the Surgeon General, this is a crisis. You know it's a crisis. But limiting has never worked. Balance has never worked. Saying these little catchphrases has never worked. Time to stop now. That's what I would say.
That's powerful. I appreciate your heart. I hope they're listening. In the World Wide Web, it's very possible.
Yeah, I hope so.
So if somebody knows somebody who knows somebody, please share this podcast with them.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. So what's the reaction of most parents when you recommend the removal of technology from the bedroom? I know that you talked about that a little bit, but kind of intrigued to, I can only imagine. But and we're talking not only from the kid's bedroom, but the parent's bedroom, right?
Oh yeah, you have to lead by example.
Yeah.
You can't, do as I say, not as I do. It doesn't work with children. To be honest with you, I get blank stares. Now the way I interpret that, and I'm interpreting, I could be dead wrong, but I see it everywhere around the world. I think they're saying to me in their minds, no. Because they never do.
Yeah. They
never do. That I'm aware of. They're afraid of, this, I'm not the only one who says this. This generation, they're afraid of their children.
What about educators? You work with teachers and educators at all different levels. A good educator is going to have a lesson plan, develop that plan. What can you recommend when, we've talked about this issue, attention deficit, digital dementia, not giving in, to this. Can you look in the camera and talk to educators for a minute? And what would you recommend?
I addressed our school board where I live in Augusta County, and they started to have conversations about this. Then our governor more recently put a cell phone ban and they gave the schools the option where they could give the kids their phone during breaks. I think it was lunch and 2 morning breaks, or a morning and an afternoon break. But other than that, they had to not have a phone, weren't allowed to have a phone in the classroom, or the school districts could choose to have what they call a bell-to-bell ban. So I met with one of our school board members. He was talking to me about it, and I said this to him. For every interruption that a child has or an adult has with a phone, so that if they're doing something cognitive with their work and they get an interruption, somebody comes into your cubicle if you're working for a company, or if somebody interrupts a child, another child interrupts a child, or if they get on their phone, it's going to take their brain 23 minutes to re-engage with what they were previously doing. So they might be looking right at you, but their minds are still thinking on that thing, that interruption. These phones are a huge, huge interruption. Now this is going to be a little bit cheeky, Don, but most of the children are on a school bus or in their car if they're being driven to school. They're on devices, and so they're jacked up on all these chemicals in their brain. It's going to take about 3 hours for them to calm down. In an ideal situation like that, pray that you don't have any students until third period and your school has a cell phone ban, because by around third period you'll be able to get their attention. Now, I know that I'm being cheeky, but you get the point there. The sooner you can get them off of the phones, and the longer that they're off of that phone before you get them, the more attention you're going to have of theirs. We need to have more parent meetings, perhaps. That's what I deal with. Parents, please don't send your child to school jacked up on dopamine, because that poor teacher, and then the teachers get blamed for being bad teachers when the child is the one that has no attention span.
I think that's great advice. So we're kind of winding down a little bit. Can't believe again how time flies when you're having fun. I'm looking at a book that you just gave me, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to start reading that today. Digital Rehab, Brad Huddleston. Here it is right here. Fresh copy right off the press. As we wind down today, and before you talk about an effective digital detox and those steps, because I think that's really important, can you share one more success story with our audience today?
Yeah, sure. I can't say that I have, too many, but I have friends in Australia. I was speaking at a conference, and this family was there, and one of the dads said to me after one of the sessions, "Hey, can my family take you to lunch? We'd love you to come and speak at our church." And they had these precious little girls, their daughters, 3 daughters, and they were just all over the place, and they were all embarrassed because the attention spans, the energy. Now that doesn't worry me because I like kids and all that,
right.
But they were clearly a bit hyper. And they said, "Oh, we just loved your session," and all this sort of stuff. So they told this story. I filmed this. So they had to fly back to their town, their city where they live from this conference. And they decided right then and there, all right, no more screens. You're not going to be babysat with screens. Well, they nearly turned the plane upside down in midair, so they had to give it back to them. And then they started to follow some of the protocols, of detox. And so they did. They followed through, and these beautiful girls emerged with these giftings. And they have had a lifestyle now where they've raised them on coloring books and things like that, and they fought the school over giving them things. They carried it into that, and to this day, every year we go stay with them. And Beth and I are Auntie Beth and Uncle Brad to these children, and they have long attention spans where they just want to talk to you and listen to your dumb stories and laugh at dumb. To where now most homes we go into, they give you the obligatory nod, and then they go grab their screen and they're off somewhere else. But this family, they're family. And we just love being around them and things like that. So, I videotaped them telling how they did it, the challenge that it was to get them off of it, but then the massive, massive change. And they've lived that as a lifestyle now for years. And these kids are gifted and, So That's encouraging. It goes against the culture, it goes against the grain, but these kids have a future. And they don't have the associated mental health issues that we see. Not that they couldn't. I mean, look, digital's not the only thing that causes problems.
Right.
I want to say that. I don't want to put guilt on anyone.
Right.
But at least the ones associated with digital, they don't have to deal with any of those.
All right, so we have someone out there that has bought into it, loved you, loved your information, and they're saying, I'm ready for a digital detox. Can you briefly take us through the steps? You know, we don't want to give it away because we want people to buy these wonderful books and digest it for themselves. But as we wrap up, you know, this part 4.
Yep. Well, I actually don't mind giving you the core. I don't. Because I can't give you the whole book in a few minutes, but I'll give you the core. There's no question about it. The first thing you have to do is plan it. I had these scary moments, Don, when I first started doing this. These parents would go home and rip the stuff out of the room, cause World War III. And while, yes, you're going to have to get rid of it, I realized, oh no, there's a method to this madness. So what I started writing about, the first thing you do is you, as the adults, you plan your detox. So summer vacation is a good time to do that for most people, but whenever. Christmas can be a good time for some people. They take holidays then. But then the first thing you do to your children is apologize. You make at least 2 apologies. And the first one that you make is, look, I've been fussing at you, you say to the child, about your technology use, but the truth is I'm just as addicted as you are. And I haven't been modeling things properly, and I want to apologize to you for not setting a good example. Secondly, I'm not a perfect parent, but I heard this guy speak, and I want to be a better parent. I always want to be a better parent, so I learned some things, and the reality is I'm also guilty of buying you these things that I thought were good for you and good for your education. Turns out not so much, and I need to apologize because I made a mistake. I didn't mean to, but I did, and I'm the parent. It's on me. Thirdly, now I have to take it away, and I'm really sorry because this is something you're attached to deeply, and this is not you're going to be uncomfortable for about 3 weeks, very uncomfortable in your emotions, and so am I, for myself and you. But I have to do this because I love you. I'm your parent. I'm not your friend. I'm your parent, and I love you, and the buck stops with me. I have to take charge of this. But in fairness to you, because I'm the one that caused this problem by buying this stuff, with as much as we can afford, we're going to replace it with anything that's non-digital that you love to do. I'm going to take you to your favorite whatever. Disney World if you're rich. If you're not rich, find something to do in this beautiful area that you live in. Because you don't need a lot of money to replace it. If you have money, great. If you don't, great. Doesn't matter. But in fairness to you, I'm going to spoil you for the next 3 weeks to distract you from this pain with anything you want to do that's non-digital. Now, I submit that if you handle it that way, it's better than yanking everything. You're going to have to take things out, but there has to be gentleness. There has to be some reason behind it. You need to explain to them why you're doing it, even though they won't fully understand and they won't like it. And then you stand your ground when they're throwing fits. And I say this to parents, before you discipline them, and I hope you do discipline your children. A lot of parents don't anymore. But for 3 weeks, they get a pass because they're detoxing. They're having withdrawals. These outbursts are your fault. You're the one that bought the drug. You were the drug dealer. Now, I'm saying that to give you the reality of the situation. I don't want you to walk away thinking you're a drug dealer. Right. But I'm trying to get you to understand that, parent, that you purchased this and you're taking responsibility, but you're not going to beat yourself up. You're just walking in the right direction now, and you need to feel good about that. We call it repentance. You think about it differently, you turn and walk in a different direction. And that's what you're doing. You're just turning around, and that's a good thing, and you need to camp on that in your mind and your heart and your emotions, but you're taking responsibility as you should because you have convictions. And so when the child is throwing the fits for the first 3 weeks, you give them a pass. Restrain them, whatever you got to do. I tell single parents, get a man with some muscles from the church to come over to restrain the kids so he doesn't trash the house. If that happens, they may withdraw. But sometimes they get violent. I've seen, they'll trash a house. Just restrain them. But after 3 weeks, go back to disciplining them because they'll be detoxed. But you'll see all this stuff has come way down to the normal, what a kid normally when they're snots and they do things, because we all did. So that's my advice.
So I guess I'm wondering then, as the parent, do they go on the detox at the same time, or?
In that book, I suggest that they do it first.
Okay.
Now, you can do it at the same time because sometimes schedules just won't allow that.
Yeah.
So, as you know, I'm getting my doctorate. I have a pilot study next week in New York, and then I have one in Australia. The one in Australia, I gave a lecture at a church, and a pastor put himself through one and then invited his entire church to go through one. And a bunch of them did successfully for an entire month. They went through this detox. So I'm going a year later to see how well it worked. So I'm gathering all the data to come up for my dissertation and capstone to see what data emerges so that we can get some more helpful information out to people on what to do, what not to do, what succeeds, what doesn't, all that. So I think I've never had this much openness until recently, Don. I've been doing this for how many years now, and I can only give you just 6 people maybe that have done something with it that I'm aware of. I'm sure others have, but the ones that I've been able to film or talk to, only 6 that really I know it's lasted for a long period of time. A lot of people started, didn't finish. But I'm seeing more openness. The one in New York that I'm getting ready to do, there's about 500 people at that one, and they did a survey after I left, and I had no idea, and 77 families decided they were going to detox. So I'm going to go up there and talk to them next week. They took the books and went for it. So I want to fill in some gaps, you know.
Sure.
I know you had to address things that weren't in that book. Tell me what worked, what didn't work. This is awesome. Yeah, so I'm hopeful for the future. And so right now, you may be, a parent watching this may be in the minority. I'm praying that soon you'll be in the majority that want to do something about it.
I think get some video.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Capture it, document it, you know.
Yep, we are.
And then share that.
So a curriculum, my capstone, the ultimate thing that I have to deliver that will cause me to be a doctor of education, that's what I'm getting my doctorate in, is I'll be a doctor of educational leadership is what it is, but education. I have to have a deliverable. So it's all about digital detox from a data-driven perspective and a biblical worldview for me. But of course, the data may work for other people who aren't so spiritually inclined. It's available to anybody.
Sure.
But it's a curriculum that I'm designing that will roll out globally that will be replete with videos as a curriculum with testimonials, with people who failed, people who succeeded, because we weren't, Edison went through over 2,000 light bulbs before he hit one that worked.
That's right.
So I put out the word at both places. Look, failure is an option. I learned as much from those of you that tried. There's no stigma that you failed and didn't complete it. Come talk to me. I want to know why. I'll hug you. I'll buy the coffee. Just come and talk to me. Tell me what didn't work so that we can help other people. Don't go down this path, go down this one, because I don't always know.
Right.
So basically that book, clinically, it's easy to tell you what you need to do, and it'll all work, but then life gets messy. You've got divorced parents, you've got kids going back and forth. Yeah. So in these research projects, I'm going to get into the weeds to figure out how people implemented it, but what were your unique problems when your boss said this, or your school required the technology? How did you handle it? And then I'm looking for the trends across lots of people to see what works so that we can then publish that. To say, okay, here's some things that have worked with a large number of people that may work in your situation, in your divorce, or so that's what I'm up to next week. And then when I get to Australia, and then I have to design this curriculum, and then I will graduate. Thank the Lord.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for being at Frostburg State University.
It's my honor. Thank you for having me, Don. I mean that.
A 4-part series, tremendous. I appreciate your heart, your brain, your knowledge.
Thank you for what you do, and that's why I came up here. It's been an honor, and I mean that, to link arms. You have a lot of young people under your care that you really do care for, and anything I can do to contribute and serve you, I will do that.
Well, that's what our office is about. So if those on campus, come visit the SAFE office in Poland 109. We'd be glad to have you come over, and I'll have the books over in the office. If students want to borrow them, just give them back. But why don't you go ahead and share with our audience how they can purchase a copy of these books?
Sure. Thank you. It's my name, bradhuddleston.com, bradhuddleston.com. All of the ordering information is there, and other information that I think you may find helpful as well.
All right. Well, listen, thanks for joining us for another wonderful PAWSCAST at Frostburg State University. We've been with Brad Huddleston and his wife, Beth, and we wish you much success. Please stay in touch and
we will,
let us
Don.
know how the doctorate goes and the other variables that you'll be dealing with.
Well, I'm excited to put this out on my podcast so that a lot of people can get to know you and Frostburg as well.
All right. Well, and if you're looking for a great place for your child to get a great education, Frostburg State University, right here in Frostburg, Maryland. We'd love to have you. So, again, I'm Don Swager. It's been great being with you. And remember, healthy choices equal healthy lives.
Thank you for being a part of our PAWSCAST. This health and wellness podcast is brought to you by the Prevention Center and Peer Education Network at Frostburg State University. If you would like more information about our programs, visit us in Pullen Hall, room 109, or call us at 301-687-4761. Or you can always send us an email at safeoffice@frostburg.edu. Remember to watch our other episodes and stay tuned throughout the semester. Thank you!